If you believe the latest data, Toronto's housing market's starting to cool. And Samantha Brooks, CEO of Mortgages of Canada, says recent housing measures introduced by the Wynne government could lead to an overcorrection. I asked her if the current dip is more of a short-term blip.
Looking at the numbers right now and the activity in the market, it's suspect, basically, because everyone has pretty much backed off from buying. The sellers are listing, obviously, but they're not getting what they want. Very few booking appointments. People are not really looking to purchase right now, and that's concerning. I mean, within the last, I believe there was a report that just came out about 2 weeks ago that the recent decline was $57,000 in 1 month,
really?
Which is pretty significant. And so if you look at that over the next couple of months, how low will that go? Like, how low will housing go? We're not quite sure, and we just have to keep watching.
So it's not even a cool down in the sales activity, because people will say, oh, no, prices are a little stickier on the way down, but you're seeing evidence that prices are already coming off in a sort of dramatic fashion.
Absolutely. I mean, after April 20th, when Wynne made that announcement, we saw that the market just completely stopped. And it was concerning, right? I remember standing in my living room and watching her and just started to panic. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going overboard, and thinking, okay, I'm okay with the government intervening, but at the same time, all these measures, right after the federal government had made their rule changes back in October, it's too much for the housing market to sustain.
Is it the fact just that it was 16 and the shock of it for people? Was it any one measure? Because we saw in Vancouver, obviously, when the government acts, people jump back, they stay on the sidelines. Is it just that it's the psychology of it? People's trust have been taken away, their confidence in the market?
I do believe that it is a psychology issue here. Buyers' confidence is now out the window, and people just don't know what to do anymore. Now that they're starting to see the numbers come down, now they're going to wait. A lot of people are waiting unless they absolutely have to list. And it's a concern, because if the market completely just, like the way it's going now, those who have purchased in the last year are really going to be in trouble. And what we're finding is that some of the millennials are having a hard time maintaining their mortgage right now. And if they wanted to refinance in the next 2 to 3 years, chances are they may be taking a loss. There are some people that are looking to actually sell, and they just purchased a year ago because they're not able to afford the mortgage as well as they thought they could. And they will definitely be taking a loss because the value will be coming down.
Now, you said that you didn't stand opposed to government regulation per se. What could the Ontario government have done? They thought about this for a long time, we're told, and they came out with this. What could they have done on a smaller scale to bring some sanity back? Because I don't think anyone looked at the market the way it was in January and February and March and thought, this is a healthy market. Things were a little out of control. You
know what? It was out of control. But we started to see the numbers coming down in April. Like, we pulled report from TREB in April, and we saw that on April 20th, the same day that Wynne made her announcement, that there was 1,774 terminated listings. And as we know, listings, well, not everyone knows, but listings are when the realtor will terminate it and then relist the property at a different value. Based on last year's terminations, which was only 681, it pretty much tripled. So that was a sign for us, myself and some of my realtors, to say, you know what, the market is definitely already starting to come down.
So it's starting to come to its senses on its own.
Yeah, it was already going through the whole cynical real estate cycle. So, I mean, for her to intervene, and then the rules that were implemented were just a little bit over the top.
Now, the federal government, obviously, they made their moves in the fall. Some people are concerned, even the chief economist over at the Canadian Real Estate Association, I had a conversation I had a couple weeks ago with him, that Ottawa might not be finished. And one of the things they might do is bring in a speculation tax. Forget about the foreign buyer. Now we're talking about domestic speculators, anyone in real estate. What kind of effect would that have on the market?
I mean, if you really look at it, anyone who's an investor, if you're going to make $100,000 and you have to pay tax, $15,000, let's say it's 15% tax, that's really not a lot of money if you're still walking away with, after you sell the property, approximately $85,000 or $80,000. That's really not a lot when you look at it in the big grand scheme of things. The whole thing is selling the property, and how much are you actually able to get for it?
Is there a market for it?
Right, exactly. Is there a market for that property? And that's where you have to be careful.
How are you feeling about mortgage rates right now? After President Trump shocked the world, took the White House, we saw bond yields move higher. Everyone got worried that the cheap money party was over, but since then we haven't really gone anywhere. We got some tough talk from the Bank of Canada, but still it seems hard to find someone who's convinced they're going to have to pay more for a mortgage in the short next while. What do you see the market right now?
Right now, actually internally, we're seeing that the banks are increasing their rates. Some banks have gone over 3% just on a 5-year. That's on the A side. On the alternative side, they've gone way up. Like they're at like 150 basis points higher.
Bit of a home capital effect there.
Oh, yes. Like their rates are really high, but I mean, still great product. It's just that the rates are higher. But some of the other banks, it's like 4.69%, which is extremely high if you really look at it compared to the 3.99 that they were offering a couple months ago pre-Home Trust announcement.
So if we're going to look at higher mortgage rates, government regulation that's already come into effect, perhaps more from Ottawa, this doesn't spell good news for people in the mortgage business.
You know what? People always have to renew. People are always going to have to renew their mortgage. People will always be looking to refinance. In Toronto especially, prices are not cheap. It's not cheap to live here. So people do overextend their expenses, and there's always going to be renewals.
Is there a danger in that, though? Every time I hear overextend in debt, I get a little bit nervous.
There's always danger when you're overextending, right? At the same time, we don't know how far the market is going to, I would say, overcorrect at this time. But, you know, you just have to hold on. If you've recently purchased your house, just hold on.
All right. Always a pleasure catching up with you, Samantha.
Absolutely. Thank you.